Toyota trucks are different. Tacoma is built for your life's adventures. Dependable day in and day out for weekend warriors and as a die-hard work truck. Tacomas also do better when it comes to fuel costs. Now's the time to buy right. Toyota trucks are different.
Party with PressBox before every home game at the PressBox Purple Crush Zone, sponsored by Finlandia and located on the corner of Sharp and Ostend Streets, just 1 block from the stadium. The pregame party starts 3 hours before game time with special food and drink prices, as well as live entertainment. Go to PressBoxOnline.com now for all the details. And welcome back to Inside PressBox. We'd like to welcome Domino's Pizza for this year's Purple Crush Zone. They'll be on site selling pizza by the slice, or if you want a whole pizza to take back to your own tailgate, they'll have those as well. But you really do need to stop by before every Ravens home game, beginning on the 15th. Not only will we have great food and drinks, but our radio partners at WPOC have hooked us up with some great live music, and that includes American Idol runner-up from a year before last, Lauren Elena, will be there before the Browns game with a free live concert. Don't miss out. It's going to be a lot of fun. And if you want more details about it, just go to PressBoxOnline.com. And I know most of you have already completed your fantasy football drafts. Your teams are set, but maybe not fully set. You might not be happy with who you ended up with. In most leagues, you'll have weekly options on how to improve your team. Earlier this week, I headed over to Friends School, where I chatted with PressBox's fantasy expert, Ken Zalis of Fans Fantasy Football, about his week-to-week strategy. And your fantasy blues brothers here, Stan the Fan, along with, of course, Ken Zalis of fansfantasyfootball.com. Ken, everybody that's watching this now has drafted their team or they're not playing fantasy football. Tell us what percentage of the fun of fantasy football is evolving and bettering your team.
Oh, I think it's half the fun. I think half the fun is the draft, of course.
So half my fun is already over?
Fun's over. That's the problem with fantasy football to an extent. But, now you got to watch the waiver wire. You got to start paying attention to on Wednesday when practices happen and, people are injured and who's coming up on the depth chart, next man up, as they say. You got to look for a guy like all of a sudden, a guy like Patrick Edwards, who nobody listening right now is going to know who he is, but he may start opposite Calvin Johnson in Detroit, because Nate Burleson may not be ready.
I'm writing that name down. Patrick Edwards.
I just gave a secret. Everybody in my league's going to grab him. But Patrick Edwards may start as the number 2 outside of Calvin Johnson. Any team that throws a ball 700 times a year, that's a guy that's fantasy worthy. So you got to look for tricks like that. And, somebody in one of my leagues just dropped Josh Gordon because they realized he's going to be suspended for 2 weeks. Well, I picked him up. That could be a top 25, wide receiver. So you look at who gets picked up, but you also look at who gets dropped. And, another man's, garbage is one man's gold. So
tell us the sort of the regimen of the week, though. In other words, what is the first thing to look for? Is it that Wednesday the injuries are announced?
Well, the first thing you have to look for in most leagues is Tuesday is the first day you can pick people up off the waiver wire. So once the games are done Monday night, you guys see did the running back for Oakland go out with a year-ending injury or something like that, or did a wide receiver start and go nuts that we didn't expect to start? And you start putting in your waiver claims on Tuesday. If you got somebody that unfortunately got hurt for the year, you want to put them on IR and go pick up someone. And then you start looking at Wednesday and Thursday practices, who practiced, who came back that may have been injured the first week. And then Thursday, we have the Thursday night games and things like that. You have to make sure that your guys are active for the Thursday night games. And then you just kind of let it go Saturday and Sunday and make sure nobody is inactive Sunday morning and put your lineup in.
All right, you mentioned the name Patrick Edwards. Do you have a couple other names out there that you can give our viewers?
Sure. I like Kenny Stills in New Orleans. He won the number 3 job. He's the direct backup for Marcus Colston if Colston goes down, who's their number 1 wide receiver. So he's a guy to have. There's a running back out of Arizona, Stefan Taylor, who did well in the preseason. Mendenhall has a history of injuries. He's a guy to look for. And then from the quarterback position, people may have forgotten about him already, but EJ Manuel looks like he's ready to come back and may be healthy enough to start week 1.
Boy, you would do a better job than Rex Ryan with the New York Jets with quarterback.
Can't do any worse.
Hey, one player that was released by the Green Bay Packers, but they talked glowingly about how he performed, but said it was just a numbers game. He got in too late, was Vince Young. Do you think, would a fantasy player have him in the back of their minds at all?
It depends where he signs. If he's going to go sign somewhere, like Oakland or Buffalo where they're having issues, or even the New York Jets where they're having issues with quarterbacks, he's a guy you may want to keep on your fantasy radar. You can't put him on a team right now, but he's somebody, in some of these online leagues, you can put people on a watch list. Put him on your watch list, see if he signs with someone, and, you never know. But I think Green Bay made a mistake with him. They just brought in Seneca Wallace, and I don't know what the difference is between the two.
Real quick, the Ravens. Would he be an interesting guy on the Ravens?
Yes, he would.
In case Joe Flacco got hurt.
He would be. They're infatuated. What's this, year 3 or 4 with Taylor? So you look at it would be a nice situation. They could come in and see what he can do. He can actually obviously throw the ball better than Taylor can, and if he can still move with his feet, he's an interesting guy. But I don't think that's a Ravens move.
All right, he's Ken Zalis, fansfantasyfootball.com or PressBoxOnline.com for all your fantasy football info. And, of course, our thanks go out to Ken. When we return, our friend and PressBox contributor, Dean Smith, will be, not that Dean Smith, he'll be here to talk about Never Easy, Never Pretty. It's really all about the voice of you, the uber-passionate Ravens fans. Back with that after this. Celebrate Jonathan Ogden's Hall of Fame career with this limited edition Collector's Magazine, which covers Ogden's career from high school to the pros and beyond. Enjoy behind-the-scenes stories from his coaches, as well as the team's decision to make Ogden the Ravens' first ever draft pick in 1996. Reserve your copy now at PressBoxOnline.com.